Hey everybody, welcome to Off the Vine. I'm your host, Kaitlyn Bristowe, and today we have Jenny Wise Black on, and she is a former marriage and family therapist turned into media trauma counselor. I'm going to read my notes for everybody. It's just fascinating. She was incredible. She's the author of Our Digital Soul and creator of Lose the Phone podcast. We talk about so many important things about what we're consuming, how we're consuming it, and what steps you can take, what steps I'm going to take to have a whole other level of deep healing. Maybe we can all hold each other accountable after this one. So enjoy. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
I am absolutely fascinated by your work, and I have to tell you, the reason I found you was, so Paige she's a boxing instructor at Title Boxing in Cool Springs.
Okay.
And she was talking about the importance of like working out for your mental health. And so she goes, I was at church and they had a counselor come in to talk about media trauma. And now I've talked about it on so many podcasts just about this one specific thing where I say, apparently this trauma counselor said that, you know, when you aren't in a traumatic event, your body doesn't have the chance to fight or flight. And so when you're consuming media on your phone, your body doesn't know what to do with the trauma, so it gets trapped. And Paige was talking about how like boxing or working out, even going for a walk, how exercise can really help release that trauma that we're all now experiencing through our phones. So I was fascinated, and then I just kept talking about it on each podcast, and then I go, wait, why don't I have her on the podcast?
I was like, how did she hear about me?
Yeah.
That's just amazing to me.
The word gets out and you're doing important work. So I was like, I can't wait to talk to you on the podcast today. You've been a marriage and family therapist.
Correct.
For over a decade, which is incredible. Why did you decide to get into that work?
Like most people will say, it completely found me. So I was a therapist before and after phones came into our reality. So when I was doing therapy pre-phone world, pre-social media world, people would come into therapy with a presenting issue. Like they knew why they were there, what they needed to work on. We created a plan and we worked that plan. And on average, almost every single person was out of therapy in a 2-year time period because they
worked on the issue.
You got to work on it. You got to build up your resources and go do it. Well, all of a sudden, like overnight, people were just showing up with trauma symptoms and didn't have any named traumatic issue, and they also didn't have any like there was no recovering from it. They weren't getting better. Like we're doing, and so it was like, what's going on here? Well, at that same exact time, I'm the first, definitely the first iPhone parent. Yes. So I was the first and had the first iPhone kids. Okay. So everybody's like, wait until 8th grade. Well, it wasn't even available till my kids were in 8th grade. So at the same time, this is only looking back that I know this. Right. We were in our family dealing with like, why am I not okay? Yeah. Why am I having traumatic symptoms? Well, mine made sense because I was working with trauma clients and had just the vicarious trauma. Like, okay, I have a really stressful job. And then my kids, it was sort of like, well, adolescence is really hard, you know. Right. And then it was like, this isn't normal. Like, we are all exhibiting symptoms of PTSD. So I knew that from working with trauma victims. Right. And I was watching my kids and I was like, this isn't normal adolescence, even though adolescence is anything but normal.
Of course, of course.
And anyway, because I'm a marriage and family therapist, I was like, okay, I have to take my own advice, do my own self-care, take care of myself, my family, and just see what's going on. So during that time period, I was going to take a 30-day sabbatical just to reset my nervous system. And nothing was working, nothing was working, nothing was working until 4 months into my sabbatical, my phone broke. Okay. So mind you, I'm not paying attention to that at all during this time. And I was really active on social media. I was kind of in the beginning of that, like, oh gosh, this could be so fun and good and, you know, a wonderful distraction from my boring life. Yeah. And so that day that my phone broke, immediately, Kaitlyn, like I'd done everything. I'd been on antidepressants. Yeah. I'd been doing all sorts of deep yoga. Yeah. I had like all this spiritual care.
All the things.
Nothing is budging. What I would describe as this sort of layer of blah. Like it's not depression, but it's like right over it. And this hum of anxiety behind right here, right? And then my phone broke that day and it was gone like instantly. Like I saw my phone was broken and I was like, what could I do today? What could I be today? And I had this perfect day. And so I was like, do I have to get my phone fixed? Like, I just felt like I was taking a vacation from real life.
It's starting to be more known how much our phones are actually affecting us, but you don't know until, you know, either you go into that blah phase and the anxiety, or until your phone breaks or you don't have it. So when I was the Bachelorette so long ago now, they take your phones away. And I remember thinking that would be the most stressful thing. And like, I'm not going to be able to talk to my family, my friends, like go on my phone. And I gave it. And within hours, I was calm. And I was sleeping better. I was like, I have no one to answer to. Like, of course, I missed my family or certain things because that was a situation, you know. But same thing with, I went to, have you heard of Hoffman?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Hoffman and they took away our phones for the week. And I was like, I couldn't wait. I was like, get it out of my hands, because I knew how it's my work, it's my entertainment, it's my numbing tool, it's so many things in the palm of your hands. And
your connection to everyone you know and love.
And connection.
Or hate.
Or hate. That's the thing, too. It's your connection to everyone, but also you're available to people 24/7 with this thing, and you feel this need to respond. So I want to talk a bit more about the how now in our lives, what was it? The Boston Marathon was one of the first events, this traumatic event that there was body cameras, there's phone footage, it's going everywhere, it's going viral, and we're all able to see it, but we aren't able to process those feelings of being there and going into that fight or flight. So that's probably just been happening now for however many years with
and
all
how
the
many
shootings
events, and
so
how
many
events, right? It was the first time we had researched what I call media trauma. So in the clinical world, this has been called vicarious trauma forever. Okay. And that's why, like, if you're like a nurse on scene, you know, first responders kind of thing, they have vicarious trauma. It didn't happen to them, but they're right there, right? So we kind of understand that concept therapeutically. But the idea that the Boston Marathon bombing showed that the people who watched the bombing through their screens were actually more traumatized than the people who were at the actual event.
That is crazy to me, because you could never even fathom being in that situation. But is that because of the body response?
It's, okay, one, the body response. So what you were saying about, I have all of those same emergency triggers go off in my body, that cortisol, that adrenaline, that fight or flight, but I'm just sitting there, right? So on a physical level, your body's filled with all these chemicals that were made to make you run or hide, right? Or run and hide.
Yeah.
And we're just frozen.
Yeah.
We're in that frozen state, so that those chemicals get trapped in our body. So on a very practical level, that's happening to us all the time. You know, we're talking about a bombing, but that happens when you, like, see your best friend with a group of people. You know, it happens in all these little and big ways. When we're seeing everybody else's life, and it's just stuck. So a lot of that depression and anxiety that I was feeling, that a lot of us are feeling, is just the practical trappedness of all of those chemicals in our body that don't have enough time to go through our system, because our bodies were not made to assimilate that much of the emergency chemicals, right? At these rates. That's not a human pace of intaking that level of stress.
And so that's why you're seeing people come in and be like, I don't know what's wrong. I can't get rid of the anxiety. There's not a specific issue. It's literally just us taking in either, I call big T trauma or little T trauma, or different levels of so many different events that we're just consuming on an everyday basis. Now, the question is, what do you do about it?
So one part of it is the chemical thing. The other part of it is there's three parts. The second part is, in your human life, the way humans were made and how we have evolved to this point in history, we actually spend a tremendous amount of our pre-phones, pre-screens, we spend a tremendous amount of our energy building our resources. So if you are in real life, like what I'll tell people is, if you have 24 hours away from your phone, or let's just say away from the internet, internet doesn't work in your house or life for 24 hours, and you make a list. I have people like make a list. I have a journal specifically for this, of everything you would do, everything you want to do and need to do without the internet. You could fill up a whole journal.
Yeah.
1,000 things, right? And what I have found is every single thing that someone puts in that book is actually a resource that will help them in life. Every single thing.
Like, give me an example.
Most people will wake up, roll over, pick up their phones, and start scrolling through something. So scroll through Instagram for the first hour of the morning. They're waking themselves up. They're like, I don't know, whatever that is.
Yeah.
If you woke up and just stared at a wall for the first hour that you woke up, it would actually feed your body nourishment. But we consider that wasting time.
Right.
And actually what we're doing when we're on our screens is, one, usually we are wasting time.
Absolutely.
Tremendous, I would say 80% of the time. Even though everyone will say, that's my work. I'm like,
Yep.
And they're depleting themselves of resources. So you're using up all those stress coping mechanisms in that first hour of you're getting triggered, you're getting triggered. And then you're waking up and facing your day, and you've just emptied your gas tank for no reason.
Right.
Right? So you would have all that energy and resources. You'd have, if you laid in bed, you'd be like, oh, you know what I need to do? And also the other part is your brain, even if you weren't looking at traumatic content, even if you weren't looking at things that emotionally triggered you, which it seems that women do more than men, that your brain only has a capacity to assimilate so much information. So we are like, I don't know, 1,000 times, taking about 1,000 times as much information in a minute as people did 100 years ago in their entire lifetime.
Whoa.
And so our brains,
bananas.
part of that anxiety and depression is our brain's like, slow down, I can't do it. And then we try to go to sleep at night, and our brain's like, oh good, finally I can organize all this information. And so we're like,
yeah,
because we can't get it into our system.
Which is why people probably have a harder time sleeping. Getting actual good rest is, I'm sure, such an issue. And we all know that sleep deprivation can cause anxiety,
everything,
stress, all of those things. And we're just keep doing it to ourselves. So when you said something like, I get it, work is on your phone, but how do we limit ourselves? Or I always say you're the curator of your own media intake. So what accounts are you following? I'm sure that helps, but what's like a solution to the problem?
So this is now what I do full time. Like, I will not do traditional counseling anymore, because what I was seeing is if you don't deal with your phone issues, we're wasting our time in the therapy office, because you're just going to be re-traumatizing yourself as soon as you walk out of this office.
Yeah, like in the mornings I wake up and I purposely do not go to my phone. I put on a meditation. I like sit and I stare at my dogs for a little bit, because people have told me, and I've done counseling around this, where I'm like, okay, but that's just a tiny little piece of the day. But anyways.
So, but it's a great start.
Right.
It's a great start, and it's a great place for people to start. So what I say is the number one most important relationship in your life is your relationship with your phone. Like, it's not your dogs, it's not your partner, it's not your job. The number one relationship. And so until you get that in a healthy place in your life, it will impact every other relationship you have, including your relationship with yourself.
This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Now, life is tough. I could just cry saying that, to say the least sometimes. Often we have to make difficult choices, and we don't always know the right path. Don't I know it? I know that's something I'm experiencing right now. And almost everyone I know struggles with this in one way or another. One way that I like to cope with difficult parts of life is obviously by going to therapy. We all know that. It truly has made a world of a difference in my happiness, my mental health, and just feeling confident about choices. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Something I love about BetterHelp is that it's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And it's not always easy to find a therapist to make an appointment and then actually get to your physical location. So having BetterHelp to fit into your day seamlessly is a really big game changer. So to get started, you just fill out a brief questionnaire and they will get you matched with a licensed therapist. And you can also switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So you can find the therapist that is right for you and whatever it is that you might be going through in this time. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/find today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Vine. Okay, Vinyls, Balins, step into a world of nonstop action on DraftKings Casino. You can play the classics like blackjack, roulette, slots, plus enjoy exclusive games you can't find anywhere else. And right now, new customers can get a deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. It's $100. All you have to do is sign up, select the offer, make your deposit, and start playing from a full suite of games. Your way is the only way to play on DraftKings Casino. You can play online on your time, in your space, and within your means. It's safe, secure, reliable, so you could deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you're ready. Download the DraftKings Casino app now, sign up with promo code VINE, and new customers get a deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more, only on DraftKings Casino with promo code VINE. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 or over, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. One per opted-in new customer. Minimum $5 deposit. Max match $100 in casino credits, which requires one-time playthrough within 7 days. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/players choice. Restrictions apply.
So I don't have a smartphone.
Okay.
At all.
Tell me you have a flip phone.
So I don't have a flip
Damn,
phone.
I want one.
I don't have a flip phone. I have a Gab phone, and then a lot of people are getting light phones. So it's basically a call and text phone. The reason it's not a flip phone, which maybe they're better now, is just it's easier to use.
Right.
It's a bit more user friendly.
Yeah.
And so text and call.
Yeah.
Alarm clock.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I have that. I truly believe, like, deepest part of me is I look to like a not just a better future, but we're like in such a dangerous place.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And this is like, you're an adult. Mm-hmm. So like think about kids who've been on this since they were babies, which is what's happening now. So development,
iPads.
We have to find another way or we are not going to exist as a species. Wow. These have only been in our lives for about 10 years.
That's what scares me the most, because if it's already
right, if
we're already here in 10 years,
right. And we know, you and I can say we know the mental health implications, or mental illness implications, rather. What is crazy is that our eyeballs are already changing shape. Right now, look at your phone.
Okay.
Okay? Keep looking. Keep looking. Pretend you're scrolling. See how you're looking? See how you're looking? See how you're looking?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Kaitlyn, look around the room. Your eye, where your eye patterns move, is showing how many places of your brain you're connected to. So there's two things. One, your brain only has to stay in this one place, which is so dangerous because the more you use one muscle and the less you use other muscles, one will overdevelop, and you've communicated to your body and your brain, I don't need these other muscles, right? So the more time...
So the eyes will change in a way where, like, it's going to be more and not...
And people are losing their peripheral vision just after 10 years and changing shape, which means if we continue on this trajectory, and we haven't seen it starting at birth yet, we will very soon have a disability in which people can only work on screens. They will not be able to go on hikes. They will not be able to build houses.
Sad.
10 years. 10 years. And that's in adults. That isn't even showing children yet. So it's the ways this is changing us on an evolutionary level are... What I keep telling people is today you have a choice. You still have a choice. And every year, I don't know how much longer we'll have a choice. So that being said, I believe like the number one thing everyone needs to do is get another phone that only calls and texts.
Wow.
Number one thing. And I think it's the only phone that kids should have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, but I think every adult should have one because we are absolutely breaking ourselves in this world of 24/7 available work. That's never worked for any human being in the history of the world. Why do we think it all of a sudden is going to work for all of us?
Right.
What it's basically saying is taking this one thing, addiction is one solution to all of your problems. And our phones have become the thing we have been trained to go to for every single issue, feeling, sensation, connection. Everything. So it defines addiction. So the way that you heal from an addiction is you multiply, you turn that one thing into 10 things or 100 things. So it's doing exactly the opposite of what we've done. Get an alarm clock, get a watch, get a phone that texts and calls. Use your laptop for work, not your phone.
Yeah.
Set up hours that you work on your laptop. You do not bring your job with you to the lake, to bed. There's a whole other conversation.
Isn't there a study about leaving your phone out in a different room when you go to bed?
Well, this is just, I haven't done any research on this.
Yeah.
But you're going to know I'm right when there's these things that you're like, duh.
Yeah.
Who needs the research for this? Because you're the research, right? So this thing, I just discovered this sort of in my last round of kind of talking about it. When you think about your house, for example, which we're in your house right now, which is so generous and trusting, and like, I'm letting people into my house. You know, you don't just let anybody into your house, right? So however many followers you have on social media, what number of those followers would you let into your house? How many?
2. Like whoever is my closest friends and family.
Give me a number.
Okay, let's say, how many people? 50.
Yeah, that's probably just an appropriate amount for a human to be able to intake, right, into the intimate walls of their house.
Right.
Okay, now of those 50, how many are you going to let into your bedroom?
20.
And of those 20, how many are you going to let into your bed?
1.
Yet, we lay in our beds with all of those people. We wake up with them, we go to sleep with them, and our bodies, the thing that's so scary to me about this is that when we get in bed, we're in our jammies. We're in our most vulnerable, exposed state. And that's where we look at all this stuff. So if I'm in the airport, if I'm in the airport in Manhattan, and I'm seeing some trauma on a screen, I'm in a different guarded kind of way, right? Because I'm in an airport in New York, you know? But when I'm in bed, I'm vulnerable, exposed, and open. So what I'm starting to realize is it's not just the content, it's where we consume the content, that we have this different set of coping and protective layers that we're just opening up our spirits, our hearts, and our minds to get into some really deep places when we're looking at social media in bed.
It's crazy too, because I'm going through something right now where I'm going through a breakup with someone I was engaged to. Now, we both are public figures. We both came from the same show. We have all these followers who we've let in, and we've invited them into our lives and our relationship and our home and what we're doing morning, afternoon, night. It's become part of like business, but also I feel like I'm supposed to entertain. I love using my phone to entertain. But now I've gotten to this point where something like going through a breakup it's a loss. It's grief. You're going through like the thought of losing somebody, all of these big emotions. And now these people are on the other end of this phone expecting you to share it with them while you're going through it. And then they think, you're hiding something from us. Why wouldn't you be honest? I thought you were an open book. I thought you were this. And just tell us already that you guys are broken up. And I'm holding so much responsibility because I see them as this community that I've built for myself. And it is affecting my mental health so much, even though I have the logistics side of my brain that goes, these people have their own things going on. They have their own traumas. They have their own dark places. They're looking to me for an escape. Like, this isn't reality. You have to give yourself time first before you give strangers on the internet time, no matter how much you think they're your community or family. But then my other side goes, oh my gosh, they hate me. I'm going to lose all the support, and people are judging me, and they think it's just all me and it's my fault. And I'm like, my brain is like, here's the logic of everything, and then here's the emotion, and I am finding myself in the middle of that.
I just want to cry.
I
just want to cry.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
Like, having been through some really tough breakups, that's so painful and hard.
So painful.
Without having to manage anybody else's thoughts,
right,
or opinions about it. So, like, on a deeply personal level, I'm just like,
I know.
So what you need to know is I only have 5 definitions of media trauma right now.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that was the cleverness of MEDIA, and we were able to come up with one for each letter.
Right.
But you are helping me know a new one.
Really?
This is the 6th one. So this is like my heart, like I'm in 2 places. Like I'm feeling for you just on a deeply personal human girl level.
Yeah.
And then the therapist in me is like,
yeah.
So I'll just tell you, because there's so many people going through it. I'm just going to tell you what I would tell any client in my office. Surely you've experienced certain levels of trauma from being in media.
Yes.
That we haven't even touched on. That you've probably talked about on your shows, or maybe you've only talked about in your therapy.
Right. I've talked about it all everywhere.
Okay. So, but the point being, there's no one who's in the public eye that doesn't have a visceral reaction to the term media trauma from the inside.
Right.
Right. So just the whole idea of even getting canceled, or the fear of being canceled, is its own, like, that's like a modern day version of getting excommunicated.
Right.
Right. It's incredibly traumatic. Mm-hmm. Other than being physically harmed, it's about, and maybe even a more traumatic thing.
Right.
So that's real. But it is so easy to forget that you don't owe anybody anything. But the problem is you built this. It's kind of your Frankenstein. Mm-hmm. You built the monster, you fed the monster, and then at any given time that monster can eat you, right? And what is so important, every time I get in this conversation, there's always someone that says, well, I mean, there's got to be a way we can balance out, like social media and our personal lives and whatever, as long as we know who we are and that this isn't the real us or whatever. And I have this like strong reaction of, you cannot balance it.
Yeah.
You can't, because anyone who's listening to this knows, you scroll through your Instagram and you can see 10,000 beautiful, amazing things. You can have 10,000 beautiful, amazing things said about you. Mm-hmm. And then one thing can be said. It's like, it's not an amount of time that balances itself out, right?
Right.
So that being said, I do not believe there's a way you can balance it at all. And I think that the very best, the only good thing that you can do is put it in the proper order. Yeah. And I don't think you'll listen to me. I don't think anybody will listen to me who has like a legitimate following. I really don't. So you could prove me wrong.
I hope to, but I don't know.
When you go through a personal loss, you need to go dark for as long as you need to go dark. Mm-hmm. And, in the Jewish tradition, during times of grief, they would cover mirrors. Ah. And for 2 reasons. 1, you're not supposed to be thinking about yourself right now.
Right.
But 2, so you don't have to see yourself in pain.
Mm. Oh, that's sad.
Right. Right. And so if what I want to say to you is, if you want to be someone who has something to offer the public,
yes,
it will be essential for you to go dark for times, as long as you need to be a whole person to come back and have anything to offer.
I am going to prove you wrong.
I sure hope you do.
I am, because that is my plan. Having to also be in the public eye and come out with a statement for everybody is so crazy to me, but also gives me the opportunity for them to understand it and then start to move on, because otherwise it just keeps going. But my plan...
Yeah, no, go ahead.
My plan is... I can't wait to hear what you have to say. My plan is, I would love to go dark. I want to do all of the things that I've learned over the last 11 years of therapy. So I got this poster board, and last night I wrote a target that just keeps getting bigger. So I did in the middle circle, the main one, I put Jason and Kaitlyn. Those are the 2 people that matter through this right now. And then on the outside, it's our family. And then outside of that is our really closest friends. And then outside of that is gosh, I don't know if you're close with your cousin or aunt or whatever. But outside of that, I can't let that come into this. I can't let that.
Can't answer to that.
I can't answer to it. I can't take that on as a responsibility for their feelings. I'm a mega empath, and I do take it on, and I can't. And when I saw that, I go, yeah, I can't go on social media then, because that's allowing that to be more important, and these are the people that matter in this time. And I know that hurts for some people. Even like my off the vine listeners, like I've let them in so much that it might even hurt their feelings that I'm like, sorry, you don't matter.
Okay, well, flip it though.
Okay.
If you, like, what do you call yourself?
What do I call myself? What do you mean?
Like, are you an influencer? Is that a term?
I guess so. I guess so.
So we'll use that for now.
Okay, we'll use that.
Come up with a better.
I don't know why I hate that so
much. I know. I knew you would, and that's why I was like, I didn't want to put that on you. But if you want to be like, oh, buy this product because I have this product, right? You trust yourself, and your audience trusts that.
Yes.
What would it be like to actually model? I'm going dark, and I'm not telling you what's going on in my life, to show you.
Yeah.
You're allowed to go dark and not tell anybody what's going on in your life. And the thing I'm seeing a lot, and I don't know how young your demographic is, but it's getting younger and younger every day. And what I saw when my daughter was in middle school, which was forever ago now, was that you saw these kids processing all of their trauma in real time on Instagram. And it was so terrifying to me as a mom and a therapist, because when you start processing your trauma publicly to a screen, you are extending your trauma. You are taking your trauma and using it against yourself.
Yeah.
You aren't going to heal in that process.
Right.
You are traumatizing and re-traumatizing yourself, because you will not get in the virtual world the care that you will get in the real world.
Yeah.
First with yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't know how long this will take you.
Yeah.
You have no idea. It's not like, oh, in 30 days I'm going to pop back up and be ready. You'll be ready when you're ready.
See, and I have a tough time also because I know I want to be a person that can show up online and help other people if they are going through a hard time. And that's where I find it hard. Like, and I don't even know if balance exists in anything anymore, but I feel this deep need to show up so authentically on social media, where I go, like, I'm bawling my eyes out and I want to help others through. If you're going through a hard time, and I just find that like builds this incredible connection, and I like it to be like this place on the internet where you don't just see all the perfect images and you see the real for who I am and what I'm going through. But I have the hardest time finding like the line of what's too much, because then I don't also want to, trigger anyone else and for them to see me crying. And, it's just like this confusing time where I want to show up as this authentic person and be, if I'm going to be an influencer, I want to influence people to know that like it isn't all happy on social media and perfect. And I don't know where to draw the line.
So I would say the line is when you don't need to do that anymore.
But when is that?
Like when you don't have a need to. So that's how you know.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's when it's time to write the book.
Yeah.
Or when it's time to. So what's happened in the last 10 years in particular is everything that happens in which used to happen in the therapeutic space or inside a super intimate, safe relationship is now happening with all cameras on, right? That is media trauma.
Right.
You're taking someone's intimate trauma and you're saying it belongs to the whole world.
Right.
They have access to it. They have see it. Now, we have been touched by so many people who've been through traumatic stories and then share their stories, and we see their resilience. So we want to emulate that. But what's happened is we have too much ability to exploit ourselves too early in the process. And that is its own kind of trauma. So when you are healed, this happens all the time as a therapist. So when you're in therapy, I have issues. Like, for instance, if you were my client and I was currently going through a breakup, and you're like, I'm going through this breakup, whatever, in the therapeutic relationship, the rules are I don't disclose my breakup until I'm through, like until I've ended the grief process. Okay. Because what happens in that moment is then it becomes about I can't see, and now you're worried about me, and whatever. If you're my friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're my friend, I'm not going to be like,
Right.
So in the position of being an influencer, the same is true. Don't share it until you have worked through it. Wow. And it's not because you're keeping secrets or you're hiding. It's because you will show up in a way that becomes more harmful to you and to other people if you haven't come to the end of your process, right? If you're still not in the middle, and you know when you're in the middle. That doesn't take a professional.
Now I'm kind of laughing at myself because I'm like, I said I'd go dark. I was like, I'm in for like a couple days. But you're saying like you should do that until you are healed from, if you're going to talk about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. You don't want to use your audience to process your trauma.
Now maybe is a good time to write a book. Even if it's just for myself.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You write it for you and you let it come to the end of itself, because what happens when you're in the public eye through this grief is a wild ride.
Yeah.
And there are things you will say and do in that process that, one, aren't fair for the public to have access to.
Yeah.
Two, it won't be your advice at the end of the story.
That's so true. Okay, my gals, are you with me? That summer is the worst time to suffer with an uncomfortable bra. The heat? No, thank you. And thankfully, Honeylove has revolutionized the bra game, so do what I did. Upgrade from traditional bras that use uncomfortable underwire and bulky fabrics that just trap in heat. Honeylove's bras feature supportive bonding that eliminates the need for underwire without sacrificing lift. Plus, they're made with fabric that's super soft. It feels like you're wearing nothing. You'll immediately feel and see the difference, and for a limited time only, you can get Honeylove on sale. Get 20% off your entire order with my exclusive link, honeylove.com/vine. I feel like I cannot be confident unless I'm comfortable. Otherwise, I'm just focused on how not good I'm feeling physically, and then it just gets to me mentally. So I love finding products that actually make me feel comfy, cozy in my skin, so I can embrace myself and my bod. Honeylove really does just that. And if you're tired of bras that cause bulging in the back, Honeylove's bras are designed with back smoothing fabric to prevent bra bulge. It's a real thing. But it doesn't stop there. Honeylove has more than just bras. They have incredibly comfortable shapewear, tanks, and leggings for everyday support. Pair your V-bra with their breathable and versatile leggings, or get the matching shapewear to your crossover bra. Treat yourself to the best shapewear on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/vine. Use my exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/vine. Cinched, snatched, and lifted. It's hot girl season, thanks to Honeylove. Support for today's show comes from Jenni Kayne, and honestly, a lot of my actual home comes from Jenni Kayne. They are your one-stop shop for handcrafted furniture and home decor, perfect for refreshing your space this summer or really any time of the year. Shopping for home decor can be, well, sometimes stressful and time-consuming, but Jenni Kayne has the elevated style and quality that you'll love. Trust me, Jenni Kayne is always worth the investment, and you can find your forever pieces with my exclusive 15% off discount code when you go to jennikaine.com/home and use the code VINE. Their award-winning candles are all over my house, and people are always telling me how good it smells in here. I can't take the credit. I mean, hey, at least I have good taste. Inspired by California and hand poured in LA, they smell incredible, and they last even longer than you'd expect. They also make for a really great gift. Plus, their blankets and throws, again, just all over my space. Jenni Kayne has also perfected foundational furniture pieces like their Pacific bed, sofas, chairs, and more. Always fashioned from the highest quality materials. And a little hack from me here: to get the best discount on large pieces, be sure to sign up for the Jenni Kayne Home Membership Program. Jenni Kayne believes in the art of simplicity, so they focus on comfort, quality, and timeless design so that you can curate a space that never goes out of style. Find your forever pieces at jennikaine.com/home. And my listeners, you're going to get 15% off your first order when you use code VINE at checkout. That's 15% off your first order, JENNIKAYNE.com/home. Promo code VINE. You hear that sound? That's the sound of the sale you're missing out on because you're not selling on Shopify, okay? And what does it sound like with Shopify? Much better, am I right? Yes. You can hear it with me if you start selling with Shopify today. Now, Shopify is the commerce platform revolutionizing millions of businesses worldwide, whether you're a garage entrepreneur or IPO ready. Shopify is the only tool you need to start, run, and grow your business without the struggle. Shopify puts you in control of every sales channel. So whether you're selling satin sheets from Shopify's in-person POS system or offering organic olive oil on Shopify's all-in-one e-commerce platform, you're covered. And once you've reached your audience, Shopify has the internet's best converting checkout to help you turn them from browsers to buyers. So Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and Shopify is truly a global force, powering Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen, millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 170 countries. I personally love how Shopify truly helps businesses of any size take it to the next level. Really cool. They have everything you need, plus Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Vine. All lowercase, go to shopify.com/Vine to take your business to the next level today. Shopify.com/Vine.
Now, I was nothing on Instagram, right? Other than that, I was super early.
Right.
I was like I only knew one other person on Instagram and Facebook when I joined.
Really?
So I was super early,
Yeah.
and I had a knack for it.
Yeah.
Super young. So I cannot explain to you, and like this is the day I'm going to get a phone call from you if you get to this place. Like how old were you when you first got really active on social media?
I was probably 25 and I'm 38.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just me, just this little old mom, 2 kids, a therapist.
Yeah.
Like, what do I have to share on social media, right?
A lot.
Whatever. But I mean,
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know what you mean.
When my phone broke that day, basically it changed my experience of myself instantly to such an extent that that's why I ultimately ended up saying, I'm never going to have a phone again. I'm never doing this. I'm never going to live like that again. So there's a big, long story about that.
Right.
But you cannot imagine. I mean, I'm so excited for you. Like, if you really do this, social media changes your brain.
Yeah.
Every single thing that you're telling me, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I used to think in all of those same constructs that you're thinking right now. And when you're not on social media, your brain goes back to being you in your head and your life. And you never have to explain anything like that to yourself again.
Damn.
It changes the way you think. It changes the way you see the world, changes the way you see yourself, and it will change every single relationship. All for the better.
I do believe you.
So you're asking good questions and you're asking unnecessary questions.
Damn. It's so hard. It's so hard because I love showing up on here.
You think you do. You think you do because it's all you know. It's how it's how you know you exist in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the number one fear I had when I first got off of social media is, will I even exist anymore?
Right.
And that's how powerful it is.
Have you ever watched like a Black Mirror episode? Like that's what that reminds me of, is that you think you don't exist without this and putting yourself out there and showing the high highs and all these moments. Like you think, well, who am I if I don't have that?
You exist for everyone but yourself.
Yeah. Wow. So what you're saying, but then I'm like, well, then I won't have a podcast and then I wouldn't have this. Like,
that's not true.
Really?
I have a podcast.
Oh, you have a podcast? I thought you just did. Okay, wait. Tell me about your podcast.
You're going to love what it's called.
What is it?
Lose the Phone.
Ah, yes. As I'm like sitting here reading my notes for you.
The idea is that, well, it's morphed because it was supposed to be give me 30 days to change your life. So it was lose the phone, find the flow. And I was going to take, well, I have one person. So I've got our first season just finished. And basically it's like, you're going to get rid of your smartphone, get a dumb phone instead.
A dumb phone.
The Gab company, did research the whole time on...
This is the phone that you have.
Yes.
Okay.
So that company did research on the first artist. Basically gave up his phone to see what would he write, so music artist, what would he write and create in 30 days if creativity took the place of his phone.
Oh, gosh.
So
I bet it was beautiful.
First 30 days, so that the first season just documents those. The first 30 days happen. Nothing. He hasn't written anything. He hasn't done anything because all he can do, he's just figuring out reality.
Wow.
He's re-engaging with reality. And it was like, so we talk a ton about that. He asks Gab and me to extend it another 30 days because he hasn't started writing yet.
Yeah.
So now I know, this is a 60-day process. So the next 30 days, he wrote 4 or 5 hours a day. And so then the end of the podcast is him playing the music that he wrote during this time and like what happened to his brain and his life and relationships in that process. And so every season is going to be a different person who picks an aspect of their life that they want to see improve, and they're willing to give up their phone for it.
My eyes are watering. That is the coolest thing ever.
I know.
What a brilliant concept and important and like I'm sure so rewarding for people. And not only for the people doing it, but the people that'll be listening and seeing the proof in the pudding of like what it does.
And I've not been on social media in years.
Holy shit.
6 or 7 years. I haven't had a phone for longer than that. And I have done a TEDx talk. I've written a book. I have a podcast. I'm on your podcast right now.
Yeah.
Like my mission in life is to prove you can be and do and have like opportunities that do not without social media.
Yeah, because I was in my brain, I'm going, well, then I wouldn't have, but you're proving me wrong.
Right.
I'm obsessed. I can't wait. So how can people, is it out? Is that season out?
Yeah, it's on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
That is a really cool idea.
Isn't that fun?
Yes. And was the music just like, was he just transformed?
It's been such an incredible thing to watch. Even the like kind of tension like in his voice, like watching him relax.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about my experience with Hoffman so much on this podcast, but like when I came out of that week, people, of course, after you've done it, you don't want your phone back because you realize how free you feel and you're more present and you're so in the moment with other people and you have deeper conversations and you see different things that you don't see before and all of these things. So when I went to Hawaii for 3 days after, I didn't turn on the TV once. I did a little bit of social media, but was very aware of what it was doing if I was on it. And anyways, I saw the most beautiful things in the whole world because I was looking around. And that's another thing that we're not doing is just like you're talking about that peripheral vision and just seeing the world. But okay, this is a very deep conversation and a deep question, but I have a huge fear of having kids because of all of this, because of what life could look like in 10 years with, you know, all the things we're talking about. So like, and I always thought having a family would be, you know, that's, I can't wait. I want to be a mom, all these things. And each year that goes on, I get more and more terrified to have kids. And then there's shame around that too, because how could you not want to? That's what you are born to do is procreate and do this. And, you know, the shame around all of that with not having kids. What is your thought on that?
It's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like
Yeah.
I feel responsible. I feel like if somebody doesn't say this is wrong, it's not okay. I believe it's abusive.
Yeah.
I believe it is abusive. And that it has to stop. Like I am not going to stop until it is, if not illegal, absolutely unacceptable socially for someone under the age of 18 to have a smartphone. And I think that social media is it has convinced the world that nothing exists without it. And that is a lie.
Yeah.
That nothing like that's ever been in existence. So how could it possibly be that we could not function without it? And so my mission, like the reason I will never go back on social media is because I have to prove that there is a path that exists without it for myself and for anybody else who is being harmed by the way someone has convinced them they have to live their life. That is abuse.
Yeah.
And you should not have to suffer these particularly traumatic consequences to do what you do.
Right.
That's not okay. And if you feel that way, of course you don't want to have kids in that world because you don't want your kids to feel this way.
Yeah, and then, you know, they come home and their friends all have it and they're upset because, and then you're the bad guy if you don't give it. And
yeah, it is, any group, every group of parents is like, I'm worried about my kids. I'm worried about, what am I supposed to do about my kids?
Right.
And I tell every single group, do not even consider what you need to do for your kids until you get this out of your life. Because you are not an available present parent until this is not there. So you are not ready to have kids yet.
That's so true.
That's why you're not ready to have kids.
It's so true, though, because I of course, want to lead by example. And that's such a huge part of parenting. And I guess, again, this all goes back to, it's probably not even, I know the answer. It's probably, I'm worried about what people on social media are going to say about a girl who's single again at 38, not having a family and blah, blah. Like, I'm just like...
You've got to deal with yourself about that.
I know!
That is a big thing to process.
Yes, it is.
So, okay, this isn't interesting. Let's see if we can make this connection.
Okay.
So, other very, very heartbreaking research is how many kids are having attachment disorders now for this one reason. When parents are feeding their babies. So now imagine.
Yeah.
Feed your baby. Right?
Yes.
Feed your baby, right? Okay, how do you imagine? Like, I'm rocking my baby on the beach. I'm feeding my baby. And act out that moment. Like, you're in act it out.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I would be...
right.
Okay, yes, I would be doing this.
Right.
Talking to it. Stroking the hair.
Now, in reality,
Yeah.
Miss Influencer Kaitlyn,
Yeah.
what do you think you're going to be doing during the 10,000 boring, exhausted hours of feeding your baby?
This.
So, guess what? A baby's number one attachment is made from eye contact while it's being fed. And all these babies have lost that. So we are seeing attachment issues after attachment issues after attachment issues because they did not get eye contact.
Because it does start that young.
Yeah.
It starts in the womb, doesn't it?
Right.
The feeling.
Right.
That is so sad because I mean, even, obviously not a mom. And even I have said to myself, oh my gosh, how are people getting night nurses? Because isn't that your bonding time? And how are people... But when you're in it, you're exhausted.
Right,
you think,
right.
well, isn't getting sleep more important than... Like, so
Or
I can show up
bored.
as a better...
Bored is the real thing.
Right.
Well, so what I was realizing as you were talking is, guess who you're holding right now?
Me.
And what do you need? This.
Yeah.
Me, right here.
Yeah.
Nowhere else but right here. It's boring, it's exhausting, it's unfulfilling, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
There's more healing than you know
Yeah.
that needs to be done.
Gosh, I've done a lot,
You
and
tap
there's so
into
much
the
more to
first
go.
level,
Yeah.
and you tap into it. You have done so much, but until you've done it where nobody else knows about it,
Yeah.
it hasn't gotten down and gotten down and gotten down to those deeper places.
Wow.
So you need that time and attention.
Yeah, I do. And I need it to come from myself. Yeah, that's... Even... Instead of picking up my phone lately, I've been trying to just open my book instead. But even that to me feels like a numbing tool sometimes because it's an escape.
Yeah. And I think we do need little escapes, you know, from ourselves. We just don't need ones that are taking over our consciousness and abusing us.
Great point. That's very valid, very fair. I'm just like using this as a therapy session for myself. Okay, because I really did want to... Like AI is terrifying to me, which is another thing that is all going to happen from your cell phone, which is another thing that we need to protect the next generation from. But it's just like, it's so scary to think that you're one person, you're doing as much work as you can through yourself, through helping others and understanding it all. But like in reality, phones are just getting crazier and more... You know, AI, more like, I don't know the word for it, toxic, I guess, or unhealthy things are coming from our phones. Every month there's something new. Mm-hmm. So I guess there's not like an answer.
Yeah, I have been through this
layers
and layers and layers of this. And to believe, like, I deeply believe in practice to be the change that I want to see in the world. And what... I kind of like a spoiler alert. Like, I don't want you to know this. Like, I want you to discover this.
Yeah.
The change that you will make in your world by your deep, internal, connected healing that does not exist for anyone except for you.
Yeah.
What that will do is more impactful and influential than anything that you put out there. And so for me, I say I want to live at a human pace. That, you know, screens were not made for humans. They're made for profits. Your phones were not made for humans. They were made for profit, right? And so the more I learn to function at a human pace, the more anyone I have contact with in real life has permission to act in a human pace. And once you get a taste for that, once you start actually living in the stream that you were made to live in, it's like being a fish finally in water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of like flopping around.
Yeah. You're like,
whatever.
Yeah.
When you taste or see or hear something from that world, it does not work for you. It doesn't work. It's not, you don't want it.
Right.
It's like, why would I want that? I have the real thing.
The last thing I'm going to ask you is, I'm blanking on the term for it. You have some term for treats.
Inside treats.
Inside treats. What is an
treats.
inside treat?
So an inside treat is when you're with your boyfriend and nobody knows, and you found this road back behind whatever, and this song comes on that ultimately becomes your song, right? That's an inside treat.
Yeah.
That's an inside treat. And it goes somewhere that cannot be taken away. And when the moment you take that, this is our song, I remember when we heard it on the drive, whatever, and you post about it, it's gone. It now exists for everybody else's consumption. And guess what? They consume it.
Yeah, they sure
It's
do.
now theirs. It's not yours.
Yeah.
You've literally fed other people your inside treats. Social media it promises to give you everything, right?
Yeah.
It can give you everything.
Yeah.
And it will take everything away from you. It will cost you everything to get everything social media has to give you.
That is deep and true.
But, okay, I was thinking, there's a Thomas Merton quote. Do you know who Thomas Merton
No, but I'm excited.
He was a monk that's now very famous. Monks aren't famous, but he wrote a lot in the monastery, which is, I think, in Kentucky. And one of his, I think he died in the 60s.
Okay.
And one of his quotes is, the more you make of yourself, the less you actually exist.
The more you make of yourself, the less you actually exist.
So think about the bigger and bigger your presence is in the virtual world.
Yeah.
The less your presence is in your actual
That makes a lot of sense.
world.
It's like we crave happiness and this life of healing and getting there. Wholeness. Yet we know we're doing everything wrong to get there.
But it's not your fault.
Right. Yeah.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Like, this is really, I mean, that's why, so my first 10 years were in abusive relationships. That's why I could see, like, wait, what's going on here? So it's not just that I think that it's media trauma. The way our platforms are designed actually follow the trauma bonds dynamic that keeps people in abusive relationships. One of those things is a promise to fulfill a deep need, an inability to ever fulfill that promise, but to give little bits of positive feedback along with punishments at intermittent times. That is an abusive relationship. And that is the design of our platforms. So you're in a toxic abusive relationship because you're in a relationship with an abuser, which is the monster of media.
A couple of takeaways that I took from this was I really want to do the journal, write down what I would do with no internet for 24 hours. I really like that. I like takeaways and I like practices.
I love that.
So I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And then I really loved, and I've never thought about this, the inside treat. Inside treat, where if you do have that moment and it is special to you, and of course I want to share it, but keep it in because you said something where it's you're now giving them.
It is consumed and it's no longer yours.
And it's no longer
and that
mine.
the sacredness. You use the word sacred, and then you said like a special moment, right? But your deepest pain is also incredibly sacred, right?
Yeah.
And so those sacred moments are for you. They are intended to nourish you. Those inside treats build up and give you the resources you need to handle difficult, stressful challenges in your life. So what I tell people is make a journal and put resources on the front cover. Every time you think of it, anything that you have to do, need to do, or want to do, that's not on the screen, that's not on the internet, and keep making your list. And then every minute you have available to you, do something in that book. And I call this the math of being human. When your anxiety and your depression are increasing, all you have to do, it's your body is telling you, I don't have enough resources for what I need to do now. And so when you go back to that resource book, it's putting gas in your tank. It's putting, food in your body. It's cleaning up your space. Like whatever, you will not have anxiety and depression if you have enough resources.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my Hoffman binder is my go-to right now, because there's so much beautiful information in there that I can flip to and remind myself. But I need to write my own things down more as well.
Well, and you need to know what to do with your time.
Yeah.
Like we're functioning at these super high levels of, I need to remind myself that I am whole.
Yes.
And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's all this whatever. We're not spending our time and our energy communicating to ourselves.
Yeah.
You need food. You need rest. You need a clean space. You need to talk to a friend and have eye contact with them. You know? So it's really about how you spend your free time.
Yeah.
And realizing how much free time you actually have.
Right. Wow. I learned so much today. I'm like sad, scared, and also hopeful all at the same time.
That's good. That's really good.
Thank you so much. I can't wait for people to listen to your podcast as well. I can't wait to listen to it.
I can't wait for you to either.
That's awesome. And just thank you for your time to do this important work and share it with. I'm glad I somehow found you.
Shocker, right? Shocker. Huh?
And you don't even have social media.
Right.
That's you proved so many points to me just with that alone. I'm like, and I still found you.
Yep. Yep.
Whew, okay. Well, thank you.
It was so great to meet you.
So nice to meet you.
Thank you for letting me be one of the 50 people in your house.
You really are. I'm Kaitlyn Bristowe. I'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next